On tonight's episode, we watched indie darling, Fateful Frightenings.
No, Fateful Findings.
Frightful Findings.
No, Fateful Findings.
Fateful Findings.
50 Goes West.
What?
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
As always, I am Stuart Wellington.
And sometimes I'm not me, but today I am. I'm Elliot Kalin.
Great.
So if you're tuning in for the first time, this is a podcast where we watch a bad movie
Hey, thanks for tuning in.
and then we talk about it.
It's a weird time to interject that, Stuart.
Yeah.
Hey, friends and new friends, old friends, and you friends.
Thanks, Theodore Geisel.
Poet laureate of the Flophouse, Stuart Wellington.
Hey, for new listeners, maybe you can shut off your brains for a moment. But for old listeners, I just
So much is directed to new listeners.
Were you just encouraging them to commit suicide?
yeah. Just, we'll get back to that later on in Fateful Findings. What? Spoiler alert. What do we watch?
Spoiler, you heard it already in the intro.
Frightful Findings.
For old listeners, I have a little thing I want to address off the top. I wanted just to take a moment to say one personal thing, and that's that my wife and I are separating, and I only share this with you guys briefly so I don't have to talk around the changes in my life and pretend they haven't happened, which I think would be weird. But otherwise, this is obviously a very private thing, and I like to keep it that way. But just because the internet has a tendency to be a cruel place where people take sides on things, I just want to iterate that there are no sides to be taken here. My wife, soon to be ex, but my wife Sarah is the best person I know, and we remain great friends, and we always will. And so I just wanted to say that off the top before we get back to being funny. And also, just, you know, we've had a lot of people write in and say that the podcast has helped them through bad times. And I want to say that the podcast is helping me through bad times, too. So I appreciate it. But
Dan,
that's that.
I think I speak for everyone here at Flophouse Co. When I say that.
You mean me and you?
Yeah, the two of us will say that we love you very much, and we're here for you. And that what that means in practical terms is if people want to go on the Facebook page and make jokes about this being because Dan's boring or something, then we'll probably blow up your house and kill your pets. So maybe don't do that, okay?
You're going to kill Dan's pets?
No, not Dan's pets, although I don't like his cat. The pretty people who say those things.
But that's just because you're allergic.
Let's keep it clean. Yeah, let's keep it clean, Facebook friends.
Above the belt. Keep it above the belt.
Above the belt. Maybe be human beings on this one. That's not for everybody on the page. Just for a few people who are jerks.
But we don't need to dwell on that. I just and now
Dan, we didn't watch a movie tonight.
What?
This is all we're going to talk about.
Oh boy. Now we can get back to being funny. I wanted to address that off the top so we can take the bad taste of it out of our mouths by then doing our regular show.
Kind of a lot of pressure.
So let's take the top off and talk about...
Much like this movie threatens to do many times.
No, it takes plenty of tops off. You just don't see what's underneath
and then it
those
drops
tops.
them on the ground outside of frame.
Because Dan, look, let's just say one thing.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna kill the suspense on this one about whether I liked this movie. The movie we watched tonight was Fateful Findings.
Fateful Findings.
It was Fateful Findings, a movie I've wanted to see for over a year now,
Yeah.
I think, since I first saw it advertised online, and it was amazing. Look, you can have your Roomses and your Birdemics. Now I'm a Fateful Findings man.
Welcome to Smallvember, everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is definitely a small timber movie. This is
No, it's a Smallvember movie because Small Timber doesn't exist.
This is a movie that I have to tell a little story, which is that
So gather around the hearth, Kinder.
Another one of Dan McCoy's movie tales.
Actually, hold on for a second. Sorry, I had to briefly pause the recording to grab a letter, which was
Way to pull back the curtain, wizard.
I had planned to
Wizards and their curtains.
I really wanted to watch this movie for Smalltember after seeing the
Smalltember.
the trailer, and I tried buying it from the person who made it. What's his name?
Mr. Neil Breen.
Neil Breen.
Neil Breen.
It was written, directed,
Breen
produced
machine.
by, and stars Neil Breen, who in his spare time is an architect.
And a handsome hard body.
And
Yeah.
All the time.
The movie would have you believe a handsome hardbody who is catnip to the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the ladies in the movie kiss him as kind of chastely and with as little pleasure on their faces as possible.
That's the thing. They're worried that they might cut themselves on his diamond-like chiseled features.
But I went on the Fateful Findings website and tried to purchase it direct from the source. And I paid the money, and the DVD never showed up, which is very appropriate to the movie Fateful Findings.
Yeah.
But as if by magic, Flophouse fan Josh Hollis, the guy
I like
who
that dude.
he's done a bunch of great Flophouse Photoshop. He did copies of the Flophouse Inquirer with a bunch
Photoflop.
of great Flophouse in-jokes, but he mailed a copy of the DVD for Fateful Findings to us, unbeknown, like he did not know that it was something that we wanted to watch, and it just magically appeared right before.
Hey, so in a way, didn't you get the DVD you bought?
Yeah, as if by kismet.
Yep, it's almost
It all
like
came together.
a mushroom magically morphed into that DVD.
Yeah, which leads us into, I guess, the
Well, let's just say this was a case of serendipity, when fate has a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Starring John Cusack. So Neil Breen is an independent filmmaker and also architect.
the most independent filmmaker.
Independent from logic, skill, talent,
Yeah.
storytelling ability. And
Often alone in the shots that he
let me just say that the subtitle on the poster for Fateful Findings is the subtitle on the poster: a paranormal thriller where a computer hacker exposes worldwide secrets. That only
That is much more succinct than the movie.
It describes about 2 or 3 of the 6 or so plots that are going on in this movie, which include. It's going to be so hard to talk about this movie in chronological order, but let's.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to mention off the top. We're going to try. Just mention off the top that there's a novelist computer hacker who exposes secret government and corporate secrets, as he calls them. His drug-addicted, pill-popping wife. His drunk neighbor, whose wife does not want to have sex with him.
Which is
His
crazy.
teen neighbor, teen daughter of his neighbors who is trying to seduce him. Also, there's a ghost and also magic stone powers. Let's
And?
not.
and disappearing people, just a bunch of random disappearing
Disappearing
people who we
people.
don't quite understand.
2
who they are.
psychotherapists.
2 psychotherapists, one of whom is some sort of paranormal ghost spirit. and
Yeah,
the
like
other
an
whom
old
is just
gypsy woman.
not very good at his job.
Yep.
And so let's start from the beginning, shall we? We begin sometime in the past. There 2 kids are tromping through the woods, as kids do, and they find a mushroom on the ground which dissolves into a magic box of stones.
Yep.
So we're in like Russo-Finnish folktale territory already.
It doesn't do the normal thing that a mushroom does, which is either make someone larger or smaller, or make Super Mario more super.
That's makes them bigger. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess it's
that's just
traditional.
science.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you want to get the right mushroom. Some mushrooms make you bigger and smaller. Some turn you super.
One gives
and
you like an
others kill
extra
you.
guy or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a 1-up mushroom.
and
very
some of
rare.
them just make you real nice.
I don't know what that means.
Make you real nice.
I don't understand.
You know.
Like a mushroom that teaches you
Wink.
etiquette, politeness.
Wink.
Why's your eye making that sound every time you wink, Dan?
That's radio
I've got a
winking.
disease.
So they find this magic mushroom, which is not a drug. It's an actual mushroom that's magic.
Yeah.
They take stones from it, and the girl writes in her diary.
It turns into a little box in a bag, and they just keep pushing the
They push
rope
grass.
that ties the bag over, and then they cover it up with grass, and it turns back into a mushroom.
And by the way, there was a cattle skull that kind of nodded.
And after
towards
finding
it.
this magical box mushroom, the young girl writes in her diary, "It's a wonderful day."
It's a magical day.
Oh shit!
She writes it like
I watched a
that's the-
different movie.
That's the one thing she writes on the page, like
diagonal
diagonally.
across the lines. It's a magical day. Unfortunately, she and her family are moving away, and a voiceover tells us that she has a bracelet. A voiceover that's important for later. A voiceover from the boy, now a grown man, played by Neil Breen, tells us that he never heard from her again, and he never saw her again at the end of that magical summer.
And there's like 8 shots of the car driving away, and the kid running after, waving at it, and the distance that the kid is from the car keeps shifting from shot to shot, and the car is moving at 3 miles an hour as it drives away.
Let's just
And it's as if he found two children who have never waved before in their life.
yeah, they don't.
And then he had a dog
waving
teach
like
them
the
how to
Queen
do
of
it.
Let's just right at the top mention that everything in this movie is done at the lowest level of competency.
Everything this movie
possible.
does is wrong.
But it's like in a great way. Like I could not, if I was trying desperately hard to make a movie that was poorly made and was terrible in no sense, I would never be able to achieve it. I would have to unlearn so much basic film grammar.
No, Tim and Eric could only dream of making this movie.
Yeah.
They hope one day to sit at the feet of this Buddha of filmmaking.
Like compared to this guy, Tommy Wiseau is like Hitchcock, basically. Like
And that is not an exaggeration. The Room is much more competently made than this film.
So we flash forward to the present. A guy is walking down a sidewalk. It cuts to a woman.
And this is intercut with shots of just random shit that doesn't seem to make any sense.
There's a long panning shot, or a long tracking shot, I'm sorry, down the hallway of a storage locker facility.
Apology accepted.
Thank you. To a magic book on a pedestal of some kind that gold dust is falling on. Okay, cut away from that. We're not interested anymore. The guy's walking down the street. Turns out he's on the phone with his wife, even though we don't hear him talking or see him talking. And she is glad that he's coming home soon. She is at her kitchen sink, which is beautifully decorated with a potted plant and 3 bananas.
Outdoor potted plant.
It's like they wanted the room to look lived in, so they just added the kind of potted plant you would put outside a back door.
Yeah.
And 3 bananas.
They're like,
on a
what
plate.
kind of clip art can I drag over into this shot?
He is hit by a car, a Rolls Royce, driven by a very busty lady whose face we never see.
we never see. But she is certainly nipply. That's
Sure.
what we know about her.
And now
that's what the APB for the police put out for her.
Suspect is nipply. I repeat, headlights are on. This begins with the major theme of the movie, which is teasing the viewer with the idea that they might get to see breasts and then not showing them.
There are like 4 at least busty women in this movie that they keep
4 at least busty.
like they keep showing scenes where they are topless. But
they're lying on their chest,
lying on
so
their
you see their
chest.
side, or their back is to you. Or there's 2 different scenes where a woman's shirt comes off, and you just see her feet, and the shirt falls down at her feet.
And in
With
one
like
of them,
a-
the
with
shirt
like-
makes a thump sound.
It's like a flump. Like there's some hilarious sound effects in here. So he's hit by a car. There's blood everywhere on his face.
And he's lying perfectly still on his back.
He has either-
desperately trying to reach his flip phone.
And not- but it's one of those razor phones where like it's open sideways.
Yeah, because he's a famous novelist, dude.
He goes to the hospital. He has a magic stone in his hand. I don't remember if he's given it or not. They take him to the hospital very slowly. They spend so much time putting an oxygen mask on his face.
Yeah.
Like if this was an instructional film about applying oxygen masks to the faces of coma victims, like they would do it with more speed.
Well, there are also just like 5 people standing in a line saying, "Is he dead? Is he breathing?" And each time that someone says something, it's intercut with a slow panning shot of their feet as they stand there.
And there's a shot of a guy going, "He was hit by that Rolls Royce. I'm a witness. I saw it."
And the Rolls Royce is right there.
It's still there, and it's still got blood all over the front of it. So thanks, you're a great witness. Great. There's so many scenes where it's a close up of someone saying a line, then either a cutaway to a panning shot of something unrelated, or a close up of another person having a totally unrelated conversation. Like it's like Waiting for Godot level like ambiguous dialogue at times. Anyway, so he goes to the hospital. He's got a Phantom of the Opera of gauze all over his face, just like covering half his face. Some people who we figure out are his wife and a friend, because the guy says, "I'm his closest friend." I can't believe this has happened to him. They're there. The doctor takes a long time before he says anything. There's literally a long shot of the doctor, the wife, and the friend, and the doctor is just looking around. And I guess the idea is supposed to be that he's examining the patient, but he's just kind of looking at all the stuff in the room. And he tells them there's nothing he can do. He's there's very little brain activity. The neurologist comes over. She says, he's not my client, but I'll take a look. She feels his pulse and then says, there's nothing, he suffered severe brain
He's
trauma.
comatose.
She's as good a doctor as Sean Connery was in Guardians of the Highlands.
One guardian of the Highlands. There's just one guardian.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you're right. Maybe she studied under him, like Lorraine Bracco in Medicine Man. And so she took his philosophy of, I'm going to stand next to people and talk about how bad it could possibly be and hope that shocks them into getting better.
Yeah.
He, fortunately, though, has a magic rock in his hand, and that heals him, I guess. He gets up and walks away on his own.
Although maybe he's a ghost based on later things that happen in the movie.
Could
you don't
be.
know.
Yeah, a magic
be.
wind blows by, like the wind in the willows or something.
Cut to his hallway at home where his... Oh, well, he gets up and we see his butt through his hospital gown.
Yeah, this
So
is the
cha-ching.
only nudity you see in the movie, despite all the tease.
Is his hospital gown open in the back? Because like Tommy Wiseau, low-budget auteurs believe they have the greatest hinders in the universe, and you've got to see him.
I mean, when a guy spends this much time in his body, he should show it off. It's a waste. You don't want to cover up that treasure.
He's a little bit like a guy who... He's just a normal guy who doesn't really take great care of himself but jogs every now and then. And someone once said to him, hey, if you squint a little, you look kind of like David Duchovny. And he was like, I should be a movie star.
Like, if you squint a little, you look like Bob Shea from New Line Cinemas.
I was going to say, like...
if I look like a little bit, you could be, the lead singer from Rush. Like,
He's kind of an Alan Rickman without the dangerous like sexiness that Alan Rickman brings, like more puffiness.
except he's got a very sharp cheekbones.
Yeah.
And his eyes glow with an inner animation that gets more and more as the movie goes on. Anyway, cut to his hallway at home where his hospital gown and his bloody bandages are just littered the floor and he's in the shower, which implies that he walked home in his hospital gown.
Yep.
Like nobody stopped him. His wife is like, oh, you're home. And they embrace in
out
the
of
shower.
concern, she gets to the shower with him.
And they slow dance. Like they just kind of slowly
While he
turn
wears
in
that
each
like
other's
half
arms.
mask bandage thing.
He
Yeah.
still has the bandage on his face. He's otherwise naked. She is in a shift that's becoming see-through with the water.
With bloody pink water.
And they just kind of hold each other and turn slightly from side to side. And that begins another theme in the movie, which is the lead actor's romantic interest in the movie not wanting to touch him very much and wanting to kind of keep their distance in the love
That's
scenes.
another similarity between him and Tommy Wiseau. I think it's pretty clear that the romantic leads do not want to get involved with him.
No.
Well, they're sexually intimidated.
Now, you're going to have to help me. I believe that then cut to the scene where the neighbor, their best friends, their neighbor is having a drunken argument with his wife who does not care for wearing bras.
Yeah.
She likes to wear loose halter tops that she can just kind of,
She just
bounce
lounges
the ball
around.
in. She lounges around talking about how bad her job is at the bank and the office at the bank.
Oh, I just got that relationship now.
He complains that they haven't had sex in a long time. Their daughter his daughter, who's her stepdaughter, overhears this, and she is just despondent over it. Cut to, again, now...
There's so many cuts.
Here's where I'm
Yeah.
not sure where the order of things happens. Now, we find out that basically we learn...
This movie, for a movie that's ostensibly about secret government secrets and ghosts
magic
doing
powers.
magical things, like most of it is interpersonal relationships and people hitting on the main character.
It kind of feels like there's a guy who saw Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
And he also saw, like a John Cassavetes film marathon, and he's like, why can't I do it all? Why can't I have some kind of supernatural conspiracy thriller? And also, you know what? Throw in these real relationship
Yeah,
arguments.
and at times it also feels like a David Lynch movie, the way that like there's something seedy and creepy going on, but it's
'cause
mostly like soap opera stuff, but it's not intentionally that, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like he directly lifts Angelo Badalamente's Twin Peaks score for most of these scenes.
Well, crossed with like weird like Irish flute
There's
music
a lot
from
of lilting
Titanic.
Irish flute.
That's true.
And also that he has dream sequences where he's in like an oozy black room that's never really explained.
Which, like we were talking about, there's something about incredibly inept filmmaking that can be inadvertently super creepy because nobody acts like humans at that point.
Yeah.
They all act like weird mannequins or reptile people that are wearing the skin of humans.
It feels like we eavesdropped on a suburb where everyone's an undercover alien, but they're all from different alien species. So none of them know how humanity operates, but they don't want to blow their cover even to each other.
Yeah.
So here, I'm just going to talk about what happens in the movie in a general sense. I don't remember the order of it.
So a lot of the next half hour of the movie roughly seems to take place in his weird office, which is we only see the corner of, and it's just a desk covered in 4 or 5 of the same book and 5 open laptops that are never turned on.
Never turned on.
All the same Sony laptop.
But he types on them and he breaks them and then uses them again later.
They're great laptops.
They're so durable.
They don't even have to be turned on, and you can write. You can do some hacking.
You don't even have to type normally. You can just bang at them randomly.
We learn he's a computer scientist who somehow became a best-selling novelist. But he's tired of writing novels. He's hacked into government and corporate
secrets. That's the thing.
Secrets.
When he's realized that he has no more worlds to conquer in the novel game.
Yeah, he becomes a super hacker.
But
Sure.
he mentions that he's hacked into these secrets to his wife. Then he mentions it to her again, and she's shocked by it the second time. And she says, "Oh, you're in trouble." Then we forget about that plot for a long time as we get involved with the wife's addiction to the husband's pills that his psychoanalyst has been prescribing.
Yeah, there's
to
some
her.
kind of addictive pain pills that his psychoanalyst prescribes.
We get into that. We get into the alcohol problem of the neighbor.
His psychoanalyst who meets him in a conference room.
He walks up a stairway in a mansion and ends up in a conference room.
It's a weird mansion, though, because if you look down the hall, there's clearly an exit sign.
So maybe it's not a mansion.
So I feel like it's a massage parlor or something.
It certainly doesn't look like an office building.
No, it's not an office.
Like it could be a hotel or a spa, maybe.
Yeah.
And he goes. Even the sign on the psychoanalyst door says "Suite 1111, Doctor So and So," and it's like you couldn't even think of an interesting number for the room. It's just one after. It's just 4 ones.
But also, he does his therapy. There's a long conference table. There's 8 chairs in between them, and they each sit on the opposite ends of the table, like that scene in Citizen Kane that's supposed to indicate how far Kane and his wife have gone across.
It's like if in Network, Peter Finch was going to his therapist when he went to see Ned Beatty, and Ned Beatty yelled at him about the order of the universe. That's what this room is set up like. Maybe it's a new radical form of therapy where you pretend you're at a meeting, but the distance you sit from each other is a physical representation of the emotional distance between the two of you.
Sure, or each chair is filled with one of the monkeys that's on your back.
He goes, come in the room. Now let's populate this room with all the people you have issues with in your life. We're going to have a meeting right here. I call it terrible therapy. So the doctor's really pushing these pills. I think because the wife is asking him to so she can get to them. That's never really clear or not. He says no more pills and throws them in the toilet, but she pulls them out again.
Yeah, she scoops them out.
They have some conversations that are 8 conversations condensed into one conversation.
But they keep going back and forth about how she can't take it anymore, and then they reconcile, and then she can't take it
they
anymore.
They have sex on his desk, but he
that's the most hilarious scene.
He starts throwing his computers on the floor and then his papers
super slowly. It's not like he sweeps everything off his desk in a fit of passion.
One at a time. And she thinks this is hilarious.
Never breaking eye contact with her. He sweeps shit off his desk onto the floor.
It's like that scene.
And he's sweeping laptops off his computer. He's breaking his things.
It reminded me more of that scene in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels where Steve Martin is playing Ruprecht. And he's upset, and he slowly drops one thing after the other off the mantle.
But then
that's how he's doing it.
Once he's done clearing the desk, or I guess he still does efforts, they start tearing at each other's shirts as if they're trying to take them off, but they're just kind of ripping them. And that's when
they're
as we mentioned,
playful monkeys.
It certainly feels like she didn't realize that this was going to be a love scene.
She thought at first she thinks it's a scene where he's trying to attack her, and she's just fighting back, and then she's like, "Oh no, wait, okay, this is your idea of making love because you're a weirdo."
So we're going to do these super awkward kisses because she couldn't handle the raw masculinity that Neil Breen is bringing to the scene.
Yeah, they're kissing both on the side of their mouths, ramming them together.
Maybe it's a situation where the time Jackie Chan had a love interest in a movie and all these women killed themselves. Maybe Neil Breen wanted to spare the rest of.
Except he has 3 to 4 love interests in this movie.
That's true, but all those kisses seem very forced. They couldn't think there's actual passion there.
The kisses are done with all the realistic passion of a reluctant first-time lesbian porn actress who is not interested in being in this lesbian scene, but you got to pay the bills. So she's going to kiss.
The tarp's on the ground. You better do something with it.
That's the most horrible thing I've ever heard.
That tarp doesn't get picked back up until it's been.
Look, ladies,
What are you going to do? Rake some leaves onto it? No.
it's on the ground. We can't put it over a pool. So you better make some use of it. So that's
make sweet love.
the daughter from next door comes over. Oh, so there's a big barbecue.
Oh,
they have at
and
their
it
house.
is big.
It's so big.
It's so big that several shots are repeated, as if the director doesn't think that we'll notice that they just did the same shot
Or that
over again.
they have a beach umbrella with a sponsor company name on it set up at the head of the stairs of the pool, which it makes no sense why you'd have an umbrella.
And every
there.
scene of the party has like 6 people in it, but the background sound effect sounds like Final Fantasy VII, where Cloud is at like a fucking bar or something.
Or like the sound effects from the Beatles. You know my name. Look up the number. Like the party sound.
He wants you to think there's at least more than 5 people at the party.
Yep.
When it doesn't make sense. Well, I mean, I don't even know why he wants you to think that. Like what he's attempting.
Oh boy!
So the party scene, that's when the movie starts getting interesting.
Yeah, it really kicks into gear.
Because the drunk neighbor hits on the wife. She doesn't want anything to do with it, and to show how drunk he is, she goes, "You're drunk." He's like, "No, I'm not." And then he knocks over a plate full of corn. This is after the wife has taken the main character's whole ear of corn from his plate. So that's the stealing of corn is really a big.
It's one of those great shots where normally the director would be like, that was super awkward. Let's do it again. But instead he's like, no, let's just keep it. It's weird the way she takes an entire ear of corn off my plate and I awkwardly adjust it so all the chicken doesn't fly off.
Also, like when the drunk guy knocks the plate of corn over, you don't see his face. It's like a shot from the neck down from an angle pointing
Extreme
down
close-up, like the rest of this movie.
of the corn, and then he knocks it over and knocks another thing over, and then he just waves his hands around.
Yeah,
like,
it looks like
whoa,
he's doing
whoa,
a little shimmy, like he's dancing.
like he was supposed to have more of a drunk like bedlam scene, but they only had 2 plates to knock over. So he's just kind of waving his hands,
Yeah,
in
and
the
he
hope
had
that
to
you don't notice he's not knocking anything over.
They only had two plates, and he had to stay in frame the whole time. So, like, be drunk within a very specific set of
But
confines.
more importantly, the neurologist that saw him in the hospital shows up.
The one who, he wasn't her patient, but she would see him anyway?
Yes, and I think we find out why. She's wearing the bracelet that the girl...
She killed Leah and took the bracelet?
No, that is not the inference you're supposed to have. She is Leah.
But she looks so much younger than our lead.
Well, and this is my theory about that. In addition to being, she was a neurologist on the International Space Station. She spent some time in space, maybe flying at light speed.
Okay.
And because of the laws of relativity, she has aged at a slower rate than our hero, who is clearly 15 to 20 years older than her.
I would think it might be exposure to the magical energies of the black rock that he holds in his hand.
That it's aged him somehow?
Yeah, that
Whereas
it's absorbing his life energies.
I see. It's like Elric's sword.
Stormbringer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Where she found the bracelet of life, which gives her eternal youth.
Yeah, like the weird gem bracelet she wears.
Yeah. So he realizes
Him with the holograms?
Maybe. I don't. Does she have? I'm assuming she has a bracelet.
she has a ton of bracelets. It's the 80s. Everyone was wearing bracelets.
For the Misfits,
Lousy.
their songs are better. That's what I know.
Yeah, especially when Danzig was still with them.
Yeah. Afterwards, not
I never
so much.
understood why Gem and the Holograms, the cartoon would pick a name for their villain band that is a real band's name.
That's true.
It's not like the Misfits named themselves after the Gem and the Holograms band. Been around since like 79.
I don't know. I
They just
can't
never
answer
heard
that.
of it?
It's like she.
Let's get the
It'd be
creator
like if,
Jim on the
Look,
phone.
I just want to say the creator of Gem and the Holograms, I'm disappointed in your lack of knowledge about the horror punk genre.
yeah. Why don't you pick a brand new name that nobody's used, like the River Bottom Nightmare Band? Nobody's ever used that.
Or Spin Doctors.
Oh yeah. If you want to be, super great.
So he recognizes her and immediately is so happy and is holding hands with her constantly throughout the party, right in front of his wife. Oh, there's a great part where he's holding her hand and it cuts to the wife noticing, and then it cuts back to their hands pulling away from each other real fast. But the timing is just bad enough that everything is super unnatural.
Yeah.
So he has found her. They will eventually go frolicking in the woods, and have another one of these weird lovemaking things where a shirt falls on the ground. While his wife... Well, I'm getting ahead of myself because his wife dies of a painkiller overdose, knocking over a glass of water on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which we're supposed to read, I guess, as white wine, but it is clearly just water.
But this is only after. So his best friend is always tooling around on his Ferrari, by which I mean polishing the mirror, because that's all he knows how to do with his car.
Yep.
His wife comes in and they argue. Then the wife leaves and then comes back with a gun. She
Yep.
says, I'm going to shoot holes all through that car, but then shoots her husband. The daughter runs in and sees that she did it, and the mother is like,
Don't go in there.
don't go in. You didn't see
don't look
anything.
at it.
You didn't see anything. And then the daughter goes, you killed him, really calmly. And she says, you didn't see anything. And then the daughter goes, Dad, Dad, and is running towards him. And it's like, did you reverse the order of those shots when you were editing? Because she seems to she goes from calm to super.
Yeah.
Elliot, have you ever been in that
Surprise.
fucking situation, dude?
That is a good point. I cannot judge.
Where your stepmom shoots your dad while your dad was, I guess, massaging his Ferrari Testarossa?
You know what? I have a stepmom, but my dad doesn't have a Ferrari, so I don't think I'll ever.
And
be
then
in
the
that
mom
situation.
lays the gun down near the dead husband
And
perfect
drops a-
crime. The
drops a
perfect
bullet
crime.
casing.
without wiping it for prints or anything.
or putting the gun in his hand or anything
No.
like that.
And says, "Oh, he committed suicide."
She already
And-
burned her fingerprints off in an accident years ago.
I see.
And other than the daughter telling our hero, my mom killed him, it wasn't a suicide, this is not revisited at all.
No.
There's no resolution.
Never again. Oh, I should mention about the daughter. We forgot to mention that she appears in one of the many almost topless scenes when she just shows up at their pool after the barbecue and is just standing at the top of the pool stairs with like kind of knee deep in the water, just splashing water at nothing.
Yeah.
Then she takes her top off and calls,
From the back. We see her from the back.
and calls for Dylan the hero, and he goes, "Ugh, no, you can't do this. Stop it." And then she takes
And she puts her top immediately
she
back on.
puts her top on, and then goes to take a bubble bath.
I mean, he's a grown, handsome man. There's no way this teenage girl could handle that.
No, that's why he says no to her, because she's just not ready. He would destroy
He would
her.
ruin her.
She wouldn't be able to walk for a month.
Nor would she ever be satisfied with another man.
No, she'd never find that sort of joy
I don't think
again.
that's the moral of what happened.
It's like the movie that the guy mentions to Woody Allen in Manhattan, where the woman is so satisfied by her orgasm that she dies instantly. That's what would have happened.
Okay.
Anyway,
What Elliot
so
said.
he says no. She tries to take a bubble bath. Classic Poison Ivy new seduction move. Mm-hmm. He's not falling for it. And his wife, and then he's on the couch with his laptop working. His wife's like, "Oh, was Allie here?" And
He's like, I can't talk. I'm too busy working.
"You know what?
Slap, slap, slap.
You know what she did? She was swimming in the pool topless, and then she tried to take a bath." And the wife goes, "I'll call my friend." And the neighbor gets on the phone and goes, "Thank you for telling me about that. She shouldn't do that. I'll talk to her about it."
Oh.
Cut to the daughter in her room, grounded, crying.
But also, our hero said, "I told her that she couldn't come back here again without permission."
Without calling first. It's like, what? I don't understand how that would have changed the situation. This is after we've had or before the scene, I don't remember, where he's arguing with his wife and he's on the laptop and she's like, "I'm having a hard time at work." And he's like, "I'm busy." And then cut to her talking, cut back to him, the laptop's gone, and he's cross-legged on the couch with bare feet, just kind of rapping with her, you know?
Yeah.
Like girlfriends. Anyway, so he reconnects with his...
You're doing a great job, by the way.
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
a
amazing.
hard movie.
This is a tough one. Like, I've forgotten...
This movie is a real collapse.
You've forgotten more about this movie than you remember.
They took a bunch of scenes, put them in a sack, and just shook it up, and just emptied that onto some film.
So many shots will have a character, like a close-up of a character saying something super weird, and then it will immediately cut to a close-up of that character wearing different clothes, doing something different. And you're like, how much time passed? I don't know what's going on. Is this the same scene?
There's a scene where they have dinner with their friends, where
Oh, it's all shot in one shot.
it's all one shots, and
I don't think it's dinner, because at no point do we see food.
she says, "I'll go get the food now." But
that's the cheapest way to get around a fake dinner.
But they are having so many different conversations with each other, and there's
Each line is completely unrelated to the next.
That teenage daughter wants to talk about her fucking stupid elephants class.
her project about she's almost done with school. They're doing a great project about elephants. It's like, are you in elementary school? Like what?
Sure.
Anyway, so let's skip ahead to he's reconnected with his childhood girlfriend
Leah.
Leah, who they go out to the forest to find their magic mushroom place again, and they find it, and it turns into a box with some strings or tassels or something in it. His wife kills herself with pills while
they do
while they're making love.
While he's out,
their shirts hit the floor again with a thump.
Well, yeah, he's out patting her face.
He's got to move, dude.
Patting her face with his lips as if checking it for lice in some way, or like it's like her face is a minefield.
Well, like
and he's worried that if he kisses too hard, she's going to explode.
Sure. For her, it's almost she's worried that if she touches too much of his face, she'll be reduced to cinders and ashes from the sheer heat of his passion.
And he pushes her shirt down in a weird way, and then it falls. Anyway, their shirt
just over his shoulder, just over the shoulders for a little while, and you're like, do they think that we can't see the top of her shirt peeking out of the bottom of the frame?
Are we supposed to think that she's nude? I don't understand.
And instead of thinking she's nude, they're going to have sex. What you think is, or they're in love. What you think is, before this shot, they negotiated how far he could pull her shirt down.
And the great thing about it is right after that, it'll immediately cut over to a shot of him with his shirt pushed most of the way down. So the girls in the audience have something to watch.
For the ladies.
I want to reiterate.
That's the Han Solo for the crowd.
Yep.
I want to reiterate that, we may seem super pervy for, focusing on this so much, but the movie drove us to it. The movie is constantly...
It was kind of like it was trolling us.
It was like the movie was playing a joke.
Look.
Where it's like, let's see how close we can get to having someone be naked without it being naked.
The only way this movie could be more entrapment is if Catherine Zeta-Jones slid under some lasers.
With a pair of pants on.
Yeah, with leather pants on. With a pair of pants on. Because if she did it in, a skirt, that's not entrapment.
No, that's not the same movie.
The wife kills herself.
This is around the time we get back to the storyline of the secret government and corporate secrets that he hacked into. He has a lot of loud arguments with, I guess, his publisher on the phone about how they're not respecting him and they keep asking for deadlines.
And he throws around the same 3 copies of his book in the same way that he throws around his laptops.
He has 3 laptops and 4 copies of his book, and he's just always throwing them or tapping them on things. Anyway,
there's definitely a scene where he accidentally throws the book at his laptop and it flips over to reveal the spine, and that wasn't in the plan because it doesn't say his name on it.
Sometime before this.
What about the scene where he passes out and spills coffee on his face?
Oh, we forgot.
And then he starts making a face like he loves it and he can't get enough.
After the car accident, he's having headaches because, of course, he was hit by a car.
Sure.
And he's like, oh, and he's got coffee precariously placed on the keyboard of his laptop, and he knocks it over, and he falls. It's like his head falls on the paper, and then he knocks the coffee over.
Well, his head falls down, and then he's regaining consciousness, and he sees his coffee, and he's like, "Oh, that's what I want, coffee," and he tries to drink it, and it tips it all over
and
his
face. And it just spills over everything. But look, instead of being like, hot coffee on my face, his look is like, oh,
he's like, my skin is absorbing this precious caffeine. I love it.
I needed one of my patented facial caffeine baths. That's what'll make me feel better. He's also begun seeing another therapist by this point, a woman who sits on folding chairs so close to him, their knees are interlaced.
Yeah, it seems like they're going to start making out at any second.
You would expect.
It's supposed to be different than his other psychotherapist.
It is,
who's all about medication. She's all about being magic.
It is, in that she fades away at the end of it as if she was a ghost or alien or whatever. Mm-hmm. But she tells him he has a special power. The things he's learned are very important. It's up to him. It's all super vague. It's like if Yoda never really explained anything to Luke and never taught him how to do flips and balance rocks and just died and disappeared at the end, but it was all vague mumbo-jumbo. That's what this character is like.
Okay.
And they...
Exactly like Yoda, says Elliot.
This woman's performance is just like Frank Oz. But I guess I didn't even see that he must say, I'm going to show how far apart he is from this other therapist by having them sit on opposite ends of a room. I'm going to show how in tune these people are by having them sit with their crotches almost touching.
Yeah, that's the closest to a smart directorial choice he made.
It's fun. I was thinking about this earlier today that you read kind of readings of films and you're like, by showing him from below, they emphasize how powerful he is as he looms over. And you're like, yeah, that's kind of obvious. I don't know if you needed to state that in words, but it just shows you how symbology in a movie can be either simple and strong and simple and incredibly stupid. In this case, it's incredibly stupid. Look, I'm no semiotician, okay?
Yeah.
This is just how it gets me. But anyway, so he decides to reveal these government secrets. There's a ghost that's floating around every now and then.
There's a dream sequence where like a weird like ghost or a transparent man like walks into the house and then blood falls on the floor and then he fades away. I don't know what that's all about.
We've seen this character a couple times where he's just a pair of black shoes and black pants who fades away and dissolves. I don't know what
and
he represents
mirrors
exactly.
And pictures shake a bunch.
A mirror that's shaking. There's a bunch of scenes where the director, star, writer, producer is nude in that black room.
Yeah, and that's the most like Twin Peaksy part.
And he's hugging a nude woman whose hair is covering her face. And it seems pretty clear that that woman represents Leah, the girl he's reconnected with, but that Leah did not want to do a nude scene, and so he hired someone else, like Ed Wood, Bela Lugosi, Plan 9 style, hired someone else and then covered their face with something. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, he even though his wife just
like
died,
Scott McCloud always says, he expects that the audience is going to be able to fill in the blanks between the two shots.
Yeah, that's just filling in the gutters. His wife died. He comes home and he has two great grappling with someone's death scenes. One with his friend, where he's holding his friend's bloody head, and he wipes the blood on his face for no reason, and he's like, "I'm not going to be able to help you out of this one." It's like, yeah, dude, he's dead. And then
what, do you think he's going to make a deal with he's going to Daniel Webster Satan about this?
And he cradles his dead wife's body, and he just was saying like, "What? It was you." Or something like that.
And then the music swells, and he seems to be saying something, but they cut the audio track out.
At one point he's clearly yelling, no, Darth Vader Episode 3 style.
I want to talk a little bit about how this movie makes a lot of weird cuts to people's close-ups of face while they're talking. And in a lot of those cuts, they don't try and match up the background sounds that well. So in some shots, you'll be like, oh, wow, they turned the air conditioning on for this shot. But then a second later, you're like, oh, they turned it off.
It must have gotten too chilly in that room.
It's kind of like
take any room tone in this movie.
It's like the opposite of the movie Hustle and Flow, where they make a big deal about like turning off the fan before they record their rap songs. In this case, they turn nothing off, and it's like they bring in a couple extra refrigerators to have running in the background.
This movie feels like someone who wants to be David Lynch and is really bad at it at times. It also feels like someone who wants to be making Enemy of the State and is bad at it. But like, when you look at David Lynch's movies...
I would love to see David Lynch make Enemy of the State.
When you look at David Lynch's movies, like, his sound design is so important. And like, so much of the power of Eraserhead is in the sounds that you're hearing and how consistent and how, just like overwhelming they are. And this is the exact opposite of that, where he was like, sound... Yeah, we're recording the dialogue. Move it along, people. We'll cover up all that other stuff with this Irish flute music. So his wife is dead. He's taken up with Leah. She's already sleeping in his bed, face down, so you can see the side of her boobs, but not the front. There's a scene where, before his neighbor gets killed, there's a scene where his neighbor wakes up in bed with his wife, and they are awkwardly not talking to each other. But they're both asleep, lying face down with their arms up on the pillow in the same pose as like
they're getting couples massages.
Like a married couple slept in the exact same pose.
I feel like it was the director being like, all right, you be in this position so we can see most of your boob, but not all of it. And I guess you be in the same position so it's not obvious what you're doing.
You be in the same position because I don't want to show the audience that you have better pecs than I do.
Now, I want to get back to how there's a ghost in this movie. When I say ghost, I mean kind of an animated plastic bag that floats through the air that's superimposed on scenes while
a ghost is nothing but a memory, Elliot.
Yes. There's just ghosts. This thing just pops up and pops out and doesn't signify very much. It shakes a mirror at one point, and that gives him the inspiration to finally reveal these secrets. He sneaks out of bed so as not to wake up Leah in maybe the funniest shot in the movie, where it looks like he is escaping a one-night stand or something like that. He goes to the desert. She's been kidnapped too. Did I forget to mention that? That at one point she's kidnapped.
I forgot that even happened.
She is chloroformed and kidnapped and taken to a van at a storage locker place. She's not even in one of the storage lockers.
Luckily, during her struggle, she knocks loose a business card from her assailant's pocket that has the directions of where
take her to this place.
Which makes me realize that the assailant probably spent a lot of time on the phone with the guy who hired him, being like, I lost the card. Tell me where I'm supposed to take her again. I can't put an address into MapQuest. I don't have... Nobody uses MapQuest. But the hero Dylan shows up and he sees her bag on the ground and he calls her and leaves a long message on her voicemail. It's like, where are you? I'm worried. I see your bag. It's lying on the walk to the house. I looked in the house. You're not in the house. Where are you?
Why is your bag on the walkway from the front of the house to the rear of the house?
And then and it's only after he leaves this long message that he looks 3 millimeters over and sees the card that says, take her to da-da-da-da-da-da.
Immediate cut to a shot that's night for day or day for night.
He goes, and what does he like? Kill a guy there or something? He has magic powers now. He helps her escape with his ability to walk through doors and walk. Well,
he runs up and hits the guy in the head with a bottle, right?
Oh, that's right. He hits him with a bottle, and then he teleports
some
into
street justice.
He teleports her out of like a fucking like trailer.
Court is adjourned.
It would not have been hard to get her out of that trailer without using his magic walk through walls powers.
It's locked. He doesn't know how to get in there.
Yeah,
and
he has the black rock. If you have the black rock, you use it.
That's right. He's got that black rock.
He's the chosen one.
Later on, it's a flash drive or something. Anyway, so he skipping ahead a little bit. He goes out to the desert. He talks to some ghosts and a magic book, and they tell him nothing. So he decides he's going to reveal these secrets.
These fateful findings, if you will.
To coin a phrase. He's standing in front of the worst green screen of the Supreme Court you have ever seen. Ever. In front with a microphone stand.
You guys both work for The Daily Show and use a lot of green screen and shit.
I don't work for The Daily Show.
But you have worked for The Daily Show.
Super true.
And the Daily Show backdrops are so much more believable than this bullshit fake one.
Because we put just the most minimum effort into it. And so he's announcing
a comedy show.
He announces, well, this movie's pretty funny. It's a pretty big comedy show. True. Like this is the funniest comedy I've seen in a long time. I think Dan, you said it's the funniest comedy movie in years. But he's announcing his findings in the most vague way possible. All these secrets, governments have committed secrets. There's been hypocrisy and crime and corruption. All these companies, we've got to hold them to justice. The justice system has failed. We cut to a lot of shots of cameras set up to watch him with crowd noise laid over it.
Yeah, but no visible people. So it seems like the microphones are making all these noises.
That are cheering and clapping. At one point he goes, I have all the documents. And you hear applause. And he says, I have the documents here. And he holds up that black stone and I'm going to release them. So he seems like a crazy person. But you cut to...
you cut to reaction shots of, I guess, like...
There's a bunch of people...
Bankers.
Well, we don't even know that. They're just a bunch of people in suits who are nodding, and they've look on their face like, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, but unless I'm wrong, it's the same backdrop.
Yes, it's the same Supreme Court background.
The reverse shot is the same as the front shot.
He is clearly standing in some place where two alternate dimension Supreme Court buildings stare at each other across a portal of some kind. You know, someone's opened up a viewing screen between alternate SCOTUSes, and this cuts to this is my new favorite part of the movie. I have so many favorite parts of this movie where each of the people that we've seen nodding reveals that they work at. They're either senators, or they're the head of a corporation, or they work at the bank, or this one.
That's literally what they say. I work at the bank.
I'm resigning as president of the bank. And then one guy literally says, I and other insurance companies have been cheating people. So you're an insurance company, I guess? Each of them admits their wrongdoing and then kills themselves.
Two separate of them just pull out a gun and shoot themselves on the Supreme Court steps.
And you would think that somebody...
They're like, okay, let's sweep them off there. Okay, next person, come on up.
Someone would rush in and stop them. And the second guy was like, I was going to shoot myself. Now I look like I'm a copycat. And you cut to the rest of them. One guy hangs himself. One slashes his wrists in a hilarious scene. Yeah. One guy...
the guy who slashes his wrists is the only one they actually show getting zipped up in a body bag.
And that's because he was fighting a guy from Cobra Kai.
Oh, okay.
And they literally put him in a body bag.
Oh, wait, is that going to get him disqualified?
I think so, yeah. One guy takes pills in his car and then smiles as if dreaming sleeping and having the dream of fairies and angels as his head slowly falls to the steering wheel. It is like if it's like in The Godfather, the baptism/massacre scene, if that was so super crappy. Like, that's the way this is done. It's so funny. Anyway, that having been accomplished...
That was hilarious. We were fucking cracking up.
We were laughing so hard. That being accomplished, he and Leah return to the woods and remember their childhood selves. And that's it. Everyone's saved. Evil has been wiped out of the world. A bunch of innocent people died.
I guess they walked to Valhalla or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they crossed the Rainbow Bridge.
Boromir was... No, Boromir's not Asgardian. That's
I mean, Boromir should be in fucking Valhalla, dude. He killed all those orcs.
But
he admitted his wrongdoing.
I just want to say, this episode of the Flophouse has had the fewest tangents, I think, of any. Because this movie
was so mean.
We're trying to wrap our brains around it.
Like, we should have watched this movie at Christmas or any other gift-giving holidays, because, like, I cannot advise you enough to turn off this podcast right now and go watch this movie.
I think we need to go straight to Final Judgments.
Good movie?
This is
like,
a good, bad movie, a bad movie, a movie kind of like... I say that this is... Yeah, move over The Room and Birdemic, and this is a good bad movie. While I was watching it, I'm just like all I was thinking about was like the people I want to introduce this movie to.
Yeah, I can't wait to show this movie to my parents. Like, my parents who will have no understanding of what they're watching.
It is the goodest bad movie I think maybe I've ever seen. Like, I can't even, like, I feel like we've gone through the whole movie and we've barely scratched the surface of how, it's like, I've never thought I'd say to someone in describing a movie, it's like The Room if Tommy Wiseau was bad at making movies. Like, that's what it feels like to me. Like, it lacks the polish of Birdemic.
Watching this movie was like that moment when Baby Houseman gets picked up by Johnny Castle at the end of Dirty Dancing. And she's flying for but a moment, and she thinks maybe in her head, maybe I'll fly off into outer space.
I think you're reading a lot into that movie.
Well, I was thinking about, like, while I was watching this movie, I was thinking about, like, what makes the difference between a bad movie and a good bad movie. And the thing about a truly, like, great good bad movie is if a movie is really bad, you have no idea what's going to happen next.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, a mediocre movie, you always know what's going to happen next. Here, like, it's just like, this is done by a madman.
Only in a truly great movie or a truly bad movie are you constantly surprised. There's such a thin line. The two sides of the same coin, really. There's...
If you had told me halfway through that the movie was going to end with him on the steps of the Supreme Court building admonishing the government and big business, and then a montage of them killing themselves, many of them with smiles on their face as they greet the Grim Reaper. I wouldn't believe you.
Yeah. It's like, the only way to explain it is if he literally was he's like one of those guys who makes new languages in his spare time, and he's like, I'm going to invent a new way of making films. And maybe I'm going to have to grope in the dark for a time as I reinvent the primitive history of filmmaking to create a new type of storytelling grammar. But I think, you know what? I'll do it how long as it takes. And this was his first try. Like,
oh boy.
Man, it really, I feel like we've said this about other movies, but it feels like a guy who had a movie described to him and was like, yeah, okay, I can make that, and then just tried to do it. Oh, Neil Breen, like, you're my hero now.
Hi, I'm Allegra Ringo, a dog owner.
And I am Renee Colbert, a dog wanter.
And together, we're the hosts of Can I Pet Your Dog, a podcast for unapologetic dog lovers.
So let's talk about this. What are you getting yourself into? What is this podcast about?
Well, we have dog news, dog experts, and interviews with special guests about their dogs.
We also talk about dogs that we met this week.
Join us every Tuesday on MaximumFun.org for new episodes of Can I Pet Your Dog?
I want to say that tonight the Flophouse is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform. Squarespace's sites look professionally designed, regardless of your skill level, with no coding required.
Now, Dan, can I ask you a question about, okay, now as we've established in previous episodes, I'm trying to get some websites off the ground.
Yeah.
I haven't had the chance to use Squarespace yet, and I'm having trouble with other companies trying to get my Christopher Lee fan site, penguinfarts.com.
I think that's a weird name for
Well,
it. I don't think
setting.
people are going to
I'm
understand.
having trouble with that project. I'm setting it aside. Instead
sure.
of,
Okay.
I've got a new website. It's called
Okay.
monkeypenis.com.
Oh,
and
okay.
it's an exploration of the work of Guy de Maupassant.
Oh, wow.
Sure.
And
The necklace? That's
Yeah, I think you're
that's right.
sure, yeah. Anyway, what I really like about him most is that his name is Guy, but it's pronounced Guy, like a karate gi.
Yep, it's the outfit a karate guy
clarified butter
wears.
that's used in Indian food.
Sure, I don't know. Anyway, so is Squarespace the place I want to? I need a simple all-in-one solution. I want my website to look the same on
you want-
phones and laptops and iPads without me having to recode it every
You were just
time.
telling me the other day you really want responsive design.
Incredibly responsive design. I want it
Well-
to be as responsive as a lover who knows every inch of your body almost better than you know
Well,
it.
you're in luck because that is Squarespace. And you can start your free trial today with no credit card required at squarespace.com.
That's another thing I wanted to ask you. My credit cards were taken away from me.
Okay, well, I mean, eventually you're going to be in trouble. I think at some point you're going to have to pay for this.
But I want to start it up without a credit card. Can I do that?
You can.
Because
No
as I
credit
said,
card required.
what happened was I went to a snooty restaurant,
Okay.
and when I went to pay, I must have overdrawn on my account because they literally cut up the card in front of me
Yep.
with scissors. What was crazy was that they were charging so much, and there were like 3 sprouts on that plate.
Yep. And it was the evening of Force Friday where Elliot spent all his fun bucks on Star
I
Wars
had to
dudes.
buy every one of the Lego Star Wars sets or some shit because
Take it easy.
all that some people have in their lives. Anyway, so
Calm down.
sorry, I read an article about Force Friday that got me really mad. So Dan, Squarespace can help me with that. I can get in easy and see if it's the right thing for me. It sounds like it's really great. Is there some kind of code that I could use for discounts?
Indeed. You can use the offer code FLOP, that's FLOP, to get 10% off your first purchase.
Now, I want to start a website that's a tribute to Neil Breen, writer, director, producer of Fateful Findings, that's called almosttopless.com. You think Squarespace is the place I could do
You
that?
can do that easily with Squarespace.
Responsive design?
Yep.
And I don't need to know coding.
No, you don't need a credit card.
Well, how's their tech support?
It's excellent. And you can use the offer code FLOP to get 10% off your first purchase.
But I don't need a credit card, right?
No.
Can I
Squarespace.
pay by money order?
You can. I don't know if that's true.
That seems like a
I'm just
promise we
making
shouldn't be
stuff up.
making.
That's I'm
just
trying to get
making
you to
something
shut up.
I'm trying to get you to shut up.
So squarespace.com, offer code FLOP.
Yeah, build it beautiful. But moving on.
No, you should say like this. Build it, beautiful.
Build it, beautiful.
Like you're a detective.
So we should move on to letters from
Guys, I just
That's-
want to say
that's
this
what
has been great so far.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, thanks.
I think, Dan, that's what I would have said to Elizabeth Warren Roebling, the woman who was really responsible for making sure the Brooklyn Bridge happened. She'd be like, my husband, he's stuck in bed now, and he won't leave bed for years after his nervous collapse and the bends, probably, and I have to oversee this major construction project. What should I do? And I'd say, build it, beautiful. Wah, 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 wah.
Okay.
So, Dan, what do we do now?
We read letters from listeners in a little segment we call the Flophouse Movie Mailbag. I mean, we haven't called it that
Do
for
we
a
really
while.
call it that?
I think we have in the
you
past.
can call whatever you
Call it
want.
whatever you want. Just don't
Just
call
trust
it
your
late
body,
for
dude.
dinner.
Why would you call it late for dinner? It doesn't tell the audience what it is. So this is some kind of cooking segment for people with busy schedules? I don't understand.
Why are you so touchy about being late for dinner?
And look, the letters are very hungry. They're so hungry, guys.
Wow.
Hungry for a song?
Hungry for souls.
You mean songs, right?
Yeah.
Open that mailbag, open it wide and dive inside. There's letters inside. Hey, don't hide from the letters inside. There's letters inside the mailbag. Who are these letters for? Let's take a look. It's my neighbor's mail. Open it up. I'm a nosy guy. Huh. They're in arrears. They're losing their house. This is sad news, and I wish I didn't know it. Glue that letter back shut. Slide it under their door. When the house goes up for auction, buy it up and then sell it for more. Flipping houses, that's where the money is. Flipping houses in today's market. Buy a house cheap, fix it on up, sell it for more. The business runs itself if you know how to fix a house.
With letters.
Brought to you by Property Brothers on
Yeah.
HGTV.
That was one of the songs that sounded most like a TV theme. I was going to say that, but even before,
I was going to say they all seem to have the same tempo.
They're all pretty much
Da da
the
da
same.
da 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 da.
so this letter goes, I'm a big fan of your show. My favorite flopper is Elliot.
Thank you.
I'm
Yay.
hesitant to say this because I'm afraid it will lead to this letter not being read because of Dan jealousy. If I say that I'm a wife and that I have a butt, will that win me over in the eyes of Pervisoid number 1? I hope so. Anywho, I'm not sure about Dan and Stuart, but I've heard Elliot say
We're
he's
pretty
not
terrible.
a fan of... I've heard Elliot say he's not a fan of Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, and Judd Apatow.
They're okay. I mean, I'm not. They're not. They don't float my personal boat,
I feel that between those three
which
people...
floats on the waters of Lake Champlain.
You get a majority of the comedies that are released in theaters today. What are some of your favorite comedies that have come out in recent years, and what current comedians are you fans of? Thanks, Mallory, last name withheld. P.S. Thank you for continuously mentioning the film Baby, Secret of the Lost Legend. I had completely forgot about that film and was glad to be reminded of the movie from my youth about a baby dinosaur.
A lost legend.
So
Now found at
modern,
your local video store.
modern comedies, other than Fateful Findings that we enjoyed.
Are there any? I mean, I like the Trip movies.
Yeah, I think that we've mentioned before that we all enjoy the Edgar Wright.
Yeah, the Cornetto trilogy stuff.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Those are good ones.
I guess recently, like to reference Judd Apatow, I liked Trainwreck quite a bit,
I still haven't seen that yet.
and I like Spy a lot too.
I've heard good
Which
things about that
I felt
too.
that was like the people involved's probably best work.
Yeah, when I watched that movie, I sort of thought, like, at the beginning, I'm like, okay, well, this is not as good as it was advertised. Like, it felt very rote, and then as it went on...
Yes, they wrote it. How many
Good
times have I
one.
done that joke now? Like 10?
At least once before. But as it went on, I appreciated it.
But Jason Statham makes a face-off joke.
No, she's terrific. I
And
liked Rose
Byrne,
Byrne.
McGowan?
Bernie,
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah,
admit...
Bernie, starring Jack Black.
and Allison Janney's in it. She's great.
I have to admit that I don't see a lot of modern comedies these days, partly because I've had so many experiences of not enjoying them, and that keeps me from going to new ones, and I should break that habit. I should be willing to risk my time on a modern comedy.
You just stick with old-timey comedies like Revenge of the Nerds,
Yeah,
starring nerds.
Old starring the nerds and featuring revenge. Also starring cameo appearance by Of. I'm trying to think if there's like a recent comedy that I thought was really, really funny, and
I mean, What We Do in the Shadows was fucking great.
but I haven't seen that yet.
But you should. It's great.
I want to see it. My
My
TiVo's full of Czech New Wave films. I got to watch those first.
That's not comedies.
Some of them are very funny, just like TBS.
Do you like me? Check New Wave. So this letter's goes like this. It says, "Listen here,
I think this letter goes a little something like this.
listen here, Kalen.
What? This is such a turnaround from the last one.
You said your dream was to be a Popeye spokesman. Well, buddy, here's your chance. I'll make this quick.
Spokesman.
I woke up on the day of my wedding and I was running late.
I want to know how these sentences connect.
My groomsmen and I had to stop somewhere to get breakfast, but it was pouring rain. We ended up at Burger King. It was 10:30 a.m., and they were like, no, we don't have breakfast anymore, and you'll have to wait a million years before we're ready for lunch. So I dashed across the busy street to Popeyes. Popeyes. I asked if they were serving breakfast still. They said no. I said, okay, then I'll take the most breakfasty thing you have for lunch. So they made me a Cajun po' boy. I ate it quickly and then ran off to get married. During the entire ceremony, reception, and night, my stomach was tumultuous. The Cajun po' boy was begging to be released. My questions for you, Kalen. 1, how dare you? And 2, what is Popeye's stance on Cajun po' boys for breakfast? Alex, last name withheld.
Well, Alex, 1, I had Popeyes on my
Trebek.
wedding day, too, and it was delightful, and it sat in my stomach like a beautiful cat on a taffeta pillow.
Did you eat that in the movie theater when we were watching Piranha 3D?
No, it
We
was
stopped on the way back.
It was after we went to Piranha 3D.
Okay.
I think you were in the car, Dan, with my brother.
Yeah,
You guys-
David was like, I know where there's a Popeyes near here. Or somehow he like searched for one.
Yep,
think
like
he-
Monterey Jack seeking out cheese.
He closed his eyes and floated along the scent. And so after that, before I got changed for the wedding into my suit, we sat outside his hotel room and ate Popeyes for lunch. Just one of many reasons that was the best day of my life. Well, number 1, the wedding. Number 2, it was great seeing Frana 3D with my pals. 3, Popeyes for lunch. Like, greatest day of my life. Let's get a few things straight. 1, I just want to say I do not endorse anything at Popeyes other than the chicken. I don't order anything other than the chicken. I don't care for their other stuff.
What about their Nolan-style red beans and rice?
Well, that I eat as a side dish every time, yes. But that's...
to quiet your tumultuous stomach filled with chicken.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with your tender tummy that you couldn't handle that food, but also, dude, where are you getting married that there were fast food restaurants and no bathrooms? Deal with it before the ceremony, guy. Come on. Mm-hmm. Or at any point during the reception, step aside and use the toilet. It's your day. No one can tell you no.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to have to unlimber all of his wedding equipment that he was wearing.
Yeah, undo his whalebone
Wedding
corset.
equipment?
Yeah,
Like a codpiece? What?
Yeah, why not?
in like one of those proton packs that you wear.
Yeah.
Some kind of steampunk gizmo.
some kind of Deathlock armor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Your experience was not a good one. I take it. Try Popeyes again. Get the fried chicken. And deal with it. And as a breakfast food, fried chicken is great. I've eaten cold Popeyes fried chicken for breakfast many times.
You mean
Put on some waffles.
You should just go up and order the Kalen special, which is a 4-piece mild.
Thank you.
With
Stuart,
rice and
nice.
beans.
With
no drink.
red beans and rice on the side. No drink, biscuit. And then also...
Spoken as a man who has often picked up Popeyes for Elliot.
It's on the way over to record this, actually, it was funny. A guy stopped me on the street and said, "Are you Elliot Kalen?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said he's a Flophouse listener. And I go, "Oh, thanks." He goes, "Yeah, the Popeyes was a giveaway." So I had a bag of Popeyes in my hand. Here's the thing. When I was young...
And the goody look on your face where you're so excited.
that I was licking my chops and rubbing my hands together. Like a cartoon wolf staring at Red Hot Riding Hood. When I was a young man before there was a lady in my life, I would frequently on weekends get a box of fried chicken on Friday night. That's my food for the weekend. So I'm having it for breakfast 2 days in a row, and it was fantastic. Am I alive today to tell the tale? Somehow.
Yeah.
So continue. That malcontent has been disposed of.
Yeah. So this next letter
Popeyes forever.
goes, "Help me be better at being dumped.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Dear Flophouse, I recently got dumped and I'm grateful to your podcast for helping me not act like an insane person. Whenever I want to call my ex-boyfriend, I instead make myself listen to a Flophouse episode. Soon I am laughing and don't care about my ex-boyfriend anymore because he was not as funny as you are. Especially Dan, who is my favorite, and Elliot, who is my other favorite. Sorry, Stuart.
It's okay. I'm the garbage one.
Unfortunately,
Usually the ladies love cool Stuart.
she says, the recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode was not up to standard, in my opinion. I got distracted and ended up calling my ex-boyfriend, who now thinks I am crazy.
This is too much pressure to put on us.
Please help me be better at being dumped by only having A+++ episodes. For example, the Transformers episode, or the That's My Boy episode. Thank you in advance, Maggie, last name withheld.
Maggie, you're too good for that guy. You kick him to the curb and forget about him because there's plenty of fish in the sea.
I don't even know why you're listening to this episode. You should be watching Fateful Findings.
You watch Fateful Findings, you'll be laughing so hard, you'll be like, boyfriend who? Doesn't exist.
Boyfriend what?
I want to be with that Neil Breen, who all the ladies want to lightly peck.
And you should only be dating boyfriends from the Boyfriend Academy.
You mean
as
boyfriend
taught by
school?
Shelley Long.
AKA, Don't Tell Her It's Me University.
Yep.
I guess she is the teacher. I always kind of viewed her as like a sensei type.
I mean, that's another word for teacher.
Like a seafood
It literally
type.
means teacher. A teacher, huh? I always thought of her as more of a professor.
More of an adjunct professor. No,
An
I'm glad.
instructor sort of position.
Some sort of instruction provider.
Glad we were able to help you, I guess. I assume we were.
I don't know. This episode's super great, right?
We'll do our best to try to be funny so that you laugh and don't think about them. But hey, I hope by the time you listen to this episode, you're already awash on a sea of dudes.
Gross.
Are you gross?
So, last letter goes like this. Dear Radio Zork, apply grease to door hinge, push open door, throw dynamite at Gru. Matt, last name withheld.
It's a lot of motions for one
Yeah,
turn.
I don't know if you can make that many.
I think it kind of disqualifies it.
Yep. You become unstuck in time because you're moving too fast. You are dead.
You're a harsh game master,
A
Stuart.
nice try.
But thanks for playing.
You cheat a good game, boy. But now you Zork.
Thanks for playing the most popular radio adventure.
Radio Zork, brought to you by Dan
Brought to you what?
and Elliot.
What was it actually brought to you by? Delicious Penises? I can't remember.
It was, yeah, I forgot what it was. I forgot what old-timey vulgar product it was.
Greasy penises.
Yeah.
Is there any other kind?
Yeah.
It's time for our genital health corner, right? Every episode we have a new tip about genital health, and
Check
Stuart,
your penis. Is it greasy?
Well, that's the thing. Stuart has reminded me that always keep your penis well greased.
Yeah.
If you don't have a penis, grease someone else's.
Oil
They'll
can.
appreciate it.
Oil can.
That squeaking isn't aren't your hip hinges. No, it's your penis asking for oiling.
Oil can.
You want to get a smooth erection? You got to grease that thing up.
Okay, so I think the
otherwise
next...
it's super spiky.
Yeah. It's got to creak its way up.
Or gritty.
Yeah.
So the next step of this podcast is not talking about gross stuff.
That was super
It's
gross.
talking about fun stuff. Movies we actually liked.
Boing.
Dan's going to start.
Oh, I am? All right. I was watching...
Bounce pass.
We just it was a coup d'etat. Stuart is now the
A
host.
coup de grace.
I was watching...
Hanging with Mr. Coup d'etat.
I was watching a thing called television the other day, and I was flipping...
Tell me more.
I was flipping past the channels, which is what the kids are doing.
Story gets even better.
And I came across the second, the last third, actually, of a little movie called Death Trap, which I watched several times
that is a
growing
good
up
movie.
because it was on HBO all the time.
As
But-
you waited for Sheena to be on.
Yeah. But I like that movie quite a bit. It stars Michael Caine, Christopher Reeve, and Diane Cannon in the three major roles. There's about five major roles.
There's like 5 roles in the whole movie, basically.
Yeah. And it's just a twisty... Like, it was based on a play by Ira Levin. It's directed by Sidney Lumet. He does not open up the play particularly. He just directs it well. And when you've got people like Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve and Diane Cannon, like, they are able to play the thriller elements of the story, but they're also able to play the light comedy elements of it, because it is a silly movie at its heart. It's full of twists and turns that kind of take advantage of the thriller plotting while sort of also making fun of it at the same time. And it's a very enjoyable movie. It's about a failed writer of thriller plays who engages in a plot to try and get rid of his wife, and then many twists and turns come afterwards. And so if you're looking for just a fun time, I recommend Death Trap.
More than Fateful Findings?
I mean, maybe equally in different ways. Others?
That sounds great. You know, guys, the other day I popped on a movie on the old digital video player.
Am I the only one who's not going to explain the circumstances in which you watched his movie?
The media?
I fired it up, and boy, did I have the time of my life. Now, I cracked a couple of
Is that
beers.
a reference to a song?
Yeah, he did Dirty Dancing.
I never
Nobody
felt
puts
that
this
way
movie in a
before.
corner.
You
This
know,
movie was
I
like
looked
The
through.
Wind. It's out of my league.
I looked through every open door, and I watched Spike Lee's Inside Man,
Not what I expected.
which is a great little thriller. It's got an amazing show-stopping performance from my man, Clive Owen.
Clive the Chive.
Clive Owen. Hello, is it me? It's me, Clive Owen
That's a
today,
good movie.
Governor.
It shows a path for Spike Lee's career that he decided not to take.
It is.
think would've
I mean, it's super impressive that the guy turns out what is basically a Hollywood thriller, and it's just super great, competent, and fun to watch.
I mean, it's not as good as,
Denzel
like,
Washington is draped in the best Steve Harvey suits.
I want to say it's not as good as, obviously, as The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, but it's got
The remake.
certain.
No,
it's got some of the same flavor in that it's really like a New York thriller.
No, I would say Inside Man is the closest to a remake in terms of spirit of the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 because it is a crime movie that has a really good thriller plot and it's really suspenseful, but it does give you a picture of what life in New York at a certain time is like. Like it captures little things about kind of post-September 11th New York in a way that no other movies I feel like really have, except like the 25th Hour, which is all about post-September 11th New York.
And also Spike Lee.
And it's also Spike Lee.
And it's got a great cast.
Clive
I don't know
Owen.
if I mentioned it has Clive Owen in it, Denzel, Jodie Foster, Christopher, my man Plummer. Just raw dogging it.
C to the P.
Chiwetel Ejiofor is also in there.
He is totally in it.
People say ICP means Insane Clown Posse, but for me, there's only I, Christopher Plummer.
So,
Jodie Foster's in it, doing a really weird performance that's better than her weird performance in Elysium.
yep. So
Jodie Foster's really good in it.
No, I know, but she's like very mannered.
She is borderline omniscient mystical being in some ways, but like
she's like a wind elemental, like Dame Judi Dench in that Riddick movie.
It's like Jodie Foster is playing a non-crazy version of Gillian Anderson's character in Hannibal.
Yeah.
Where there's just something off about her.
So to summarize, I'm going to recommend Dirty Dancing.
Thanks.
I'm going to recommend a different movie. This is a movie that we started talking about at the beginning of Fateful Findings because there's a long shot of the storage locker area, and that's Primer. I feel like Fateful Findings is an example of how one man can write, direct, star, and produce a movie on a very low budget, and it is terrible. But it's possible for one man to...
It's terrible for anyone to try and imitate such a great movie.
Yeah, it's unimitable. It's inimitable. It is possible for one man to write, direct, star, and produce a very low-budget movie and have it come out really good. And
Like Bad Taste.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, that's an example, too. It's not the one I'm going to talk about. The one I'm talking about is Primer, which came up because a lot of it takes place in a rental storage space. But it's for people who are not aware of it, and probably most of our listeners are at this point. It's a time travel movie that was made for a very minimal budget. It's like $7,000 or something like that. Like it's El Mariachi level budget, but it's one main way you can tell that is that the sound recording in some scenes is not ideal, but it's a really good time travel paradox science fiction movie that does not rely on special effects and just relies on.
I mean, it's
plotting.
arguably the best time travel movie.
Yeah, I think you could make a really good case that it's the best time travel movie there is. And I was not a fan that much of Shane Carruth, the writer-director, star's other movie, Upstream Color. I found that a little too abstract for me. But Primer, I feel like, is just in that right place of being mysterious, but also a movie with a plot that you can maybe you have to puzzle out some of it later, but you can follow it. Whereas Upstream Color, it felt like he wrote a movie and then he decided to like remove random pages of dialogue, and that I didn't love so much.
I like Upstream Color.
There are things I like about it. It's Upstream Color. What I like about it are the parts that have to do with their relationship only, and I don't like any of the stuff that has to do with the like conspiracy to get that chemical that makes people experience the same thing or whatever it is, you know. But Primer, I recommend. Low budget dreams, live them, make the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think Upstream Color is definitely like a movie that you kind of want to let wash over you and not think about it too hard. Whereas Primer,
a real check your brain at the door thrill ride.
Yep.
No,
A real Valhalla Rising.
like it's so moody and like you get a sense of what it's about without like trying to need to puzzle it out. Whereas I think Primer like actually rewards a little more engagement with what's going on.
I could see that,
even though you don't necessarily need to understand everything that happens to enjoy it.
You don't have to go on the internet and find those like crazy
diagrams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to see a crazy diagram about the movie we watched tonight, Fateful Findings.
Oh man, you could make a Venn diagram of the plots of this movie and none of the circles would touch. Like the plots were so disconnected from each other.
But thank you again for listening.
Are we done now? What's going on?
We don't appreciate you enough, the listener.
We read their letters.
Yeah, that's the least we can do.
Look, I know you're in a vulnerable place right now.
He's like a raw wound soaking in delicious salt.
Tastes great.
Yummy.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Real great.
Well, thanks to the listeners, and thanks to you, Stuart, and thanks to you, Dan.
Hey, Elliot, thanks.
Because
Hey.
I had the time of my life, and I owe it all to you, Stu. Bam, bam, ba-dum, bam, bam. That song is forever linked in my mind with Chuck E. Cheese. Because I guess I went to Chuck E. Cheese a lot as a kid when that song was big. And
Yeah,
I heard
you
it all
love
the
fucking
time.
pizza, bro. You're crazy for it.
Look, if I can have pizza served to me by a guy in a mouse costume while the same mouse character is a robot on stage in front of me,
That's insane.
which leads me to ask the question: are these brothers or are clones, or is this a
Are they
primer
moving
type
so?
situation?
Are they moving so quickly that they can appear to be in two places at once?
Chuck E. Cheese is a real mindfuck. Anyway, Dan, take it away.
For the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
And one of them is moving super jerky like he's a robot.
God.
The other one clearly seems to be a college kid in a suit.
that guy's Stuart Wellington.
And who am I?
Hey, he's Elliot Kalin, the lovable scamp.
America's favorite rascal.
Trace Amigos.
For the Flophouse, it's us.
I'm Dan McCoy.
I've been Elliot Kalin Wellington.
And that's a weird guy. All right, good night, everyone.
It's okay. How are our levels?
Fine to me.
I'm on the wood level of Mega Man 2.
Whoa, that's dope.
you
With
get the
Leaf
leaf
Man?
shields,
Yeah, Leaf
yep.
Man.
I suggest that you use the whatever fire thing on the wood thing.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Anyway, thanks, Nintendo Power, for that insider's tip.
Yeah.
If I could beat the fire level, I would have done that first. Wood level is the one you beat before that because it's easier.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture. Artist owned.
Listener supported.
Hi, this is Dave Hill from Dave Hill's Podcasting Incident on the Maximum Fun Network. I'm here with my lovely and talented secretary, Miss Shayna Feinberg. Shayna, I understand you've been doing a bit of research to find out what listeners think of the show.
Yes, I have, Dave.
And what have you found?
Well, people that love it say they love it because it's just Dave hanging out with someone in his apartment.
Awesome. What do people that hate it say?
They hate it because it's just Dave hanging out with someone in his apartment.
Oh.
Listen to Dave Hill's Podcasting Incident on the Maximum Fun Network, motherfucker.
Was that too much?
No, I think it was perfect.